Right,
Um,
right, right.
so I guess, just to talk about what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about self-love, right? How it is probably the most important factor to success in anything, in
Mhm.
health, fitness, relationships,
Life,
money, finance, life.
right,
And everyone knows it. Everyone talks about it. But no one tells you how to achieve it, right? And as I get into this talk a little bit, I'll talk a little bit about the things that drive me mad with it. But I'm a huge fan of this topic, more so because I had no self-love until I understood what that meant and then learned how to find it. As a former people pleaser, someone who dips their toe, so to speak, into it every once in a while again without knowing it, this was one of the hardest things to learn for me, because you put yourself second for everyone else. Uh, you know, as I said, self-love, it's the most important factor in anything you want to achieve, right? Health, business, wealth. I really don't care what it is. It's the most definable loss factor that everyone talks about, but no one knows how to do it. Everyone talks about it. The self-help gurus talk about it. People write books on it. People give seminars on it, but they never give us practical information until today, to know
yeah,
how to do it, and that's kind of the
right.
beauty. We get books on how to love ourselves better. We all sit there, we devour it, we read it, we say, yes, that's totally me. Yes, I'm going to do that. And then we close the book, a week goes by and we're like, we sit on the couch and we're like, oh, what now? I don't know what to do. You lost that motivational, inspirational thing we get
Right.
from books, from watching a seminar online, or we spend $100 and we've listened to 20 of the biggest self-help gurus talk about self-love. They didn't tell us anything applicable to do with it. And as a former people pleaser, I didn't know how to reconnect to that emotion I felt, when we were kids, and we just didn't have any understanding of what true freedom was. And that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to connect the bridge, of emotion to what we do, attached to that emotion of what we feel. And I don't like talking about or talking down about other things that people do, but I'm going to use some of the terms that you may have heard before, or examples, to teach you what's out there and what's happening in terms of the information that's given to us as a society, and how we all actually use it. Hold on a second. How we actually use it, because 99% of this stuff that's given to us is conceptual, but when it's given to us, it leaves us with a feeling of feeling that we're broken. It's that somehow that we have fared improperly on trying to achieve self-love. Um,
And Chris, can I
yeah,
just push pause? I don't want to, if you're in the flow, I don't want to stop you,
yeah.
but I actually think there's a place we need to start even before we jump into this, because this was the community that I've stepped out of. And that is, some people don't even know that it's okay to pursue self-love. So before you even get into the books to how do you do it, I just want to give people permission to actually love yourself. Because there are some cultures and some religions that will tell you that self-love isn't what it's all about, that it's about loving other things outside of themselves. And so there's a lot of self-deprecation, a self-loathing, that's been given permission to exist within these cultures. And so I just want to say right now to anyone listening, I give you permission to pursue loving yourself. Like, not only is it okay, but it's necessary. There are people that are told you've got to serve other people. And that's not necessarily bad or wrong. It's just flip-flopped. It's out of order. So a lot of people, they think, oh, I've got to do this, and then I'm at the end. Put me second, or me third, or me at the tail. And what we now know is that that's just doesn't work. So before we jump into that, there might be some people that have been lost right out of the gate because they don't even think it's okay to do that. So now go. Now
great.
Keep going.
I appreciate that. So, that's perfect, because it kind of leads me into this. All of us privately, by the way, we do this privately. We search for the McNuggets, right? We search for the memes on Facebook and the internet that give us that momentary inspirational feeling, so I can go work out, or I can go give a hard talk with someone, or I can learn how to say something or express myself to someone. And I want to shine the light on those a little bit and, show us why intuitively in our brain they don't work for us, right? We may say, when we hear someone say, I love myself, I truly do, and we'll say to ourselves, well, why doesn't that work for me? But it works for them. In a lot of the private work I've done with people, it gets very intimate on a one-on-one level, and I get all up inside everyone's world for 3 months. And this one person I had been talking with, they were all disorganized and all ashamed for having a coach. And that's sad, right? We all feel guilt or shame in some way, or someone makes us feel that way for trying to ascend and trying to be better. And that's why we're talking about self-love. And that's why we need to know how to achieve it, because so many people, or the self-help gurus talk about it, but no one's teaching you how to achieve it, because you deserve it, right? You all deserve to love yourself, as like Margaret said. And as she said, the first and most important thing is you should love yourself first, right? And then why do we, right? Because if I can learn to love myself, I can start loving others more properly, right? I can accept them into my heart and be fully prepared to love them like I love myself. And that, as coming from a guy, that sounds probably really odd, but for a guy who has actually now felt that and understand that, it is a different level. It's different from a former people pleaser. It is a different stance in your life. I truly mean that. If we are the best possible person for us and we have self-love, we will attract what we want and need, because we are giving off that need. We have our energies amplifying itself, right? We're becoming the best version of ourselves outwardly without even knowing it, because we love ourselves, right? And that being said, I want to call bullshit on 3 things, right? These things drive me crazy, and there are more, but I'm going to pick out 3, and these are society driven. Ready? You've heard the first one. Just do it. All right, next one's people just stop it. And the other one, which I'll define a little better, is find alignment, okay? And they drive me crazy. And the answer is why? Why do they drive me crazy? Because as someone who was a highly anxious, high ADHD, depressed, dyslexic human, and I'm going to use the word humanoid at that point, because I really felt like I was someone different, or I didn't know what I didn't know. And people would tell me, Chris, just sit there and do it. Can't you just focus? Can't you just read? Why are you worrying about that? Just get over it. Just do what I say. And like, I could just go on, like hearing people yell at me like this. And, then we go to a health professional and they'll just say, stop it, right? You don't need to have those feelings. It's just a matter of your perspective, right? And they'll just say, stop. And you're like, if I wanted to stop, I would have stopped, right?
If I could, I would have.
If I don't eat the donut. Well, fucking no shit. I don't want to eat the donut, but I am. Like, I don't want to eat it. I don't want to stick my face in a gallon of ice cream on a Friday night because I'm sitting by myself. I know I shouldn't, but I am. Like, just don't do it has no meaning, right? But here's the thing. We say that shit all the time, right? And think about it. You've said it yourself. Let's be honest. I have said it to my children, and I apologize right away. But here's the thing. We did not have a class. We did not have a coach. We didn't have someone telling us our whole life not to say those or feel those things, right? You know, let's take the connotation from the words fear, worry, bad, anxiety, right? Like what are those feelings, right? How do we get rid of them, right? You can't just get over it, right? But if we have to say that those words are, we were never taught how to manage those words, but we also have to say, and we also have to call grateful, happy, etc. good. We have to be able to give definitions to those as well, right? We can't just strip all away of it and think that we're all those things if we can't define what the other good things are too, right? It's energy, right? In a way, it's energy, right? Yeah. Fear, anxiety, happy, good, they're just all points of energy that we're feeling. So it's not about stopping the bad. It's not about channeling those words or feelings into the right lane, right? We got to learn the tools, right? You got to go to class. You got to learn them. You got to apply them. You have to apply them consistently, right? The energy shifts into the lane it needs to shift into when we understand it. So when someone says, just stop being sad. God, my mother used to say that to me all the time. Right. I want to sit in my room for a week and be depressed and cry. Right. That's what I want to do. It's like, let me give you another example. Perfect example. In high school, I walked 5 guys in a row. And by the way, in baseball, that's like awful. Like I'm walking runs in, right? I'm the guy going to a big school. You can't walk anyone. Stop walking. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you think I want to walk someone? You think I want you screaming at me in front of everyone in the stands? Like, I don't want to do that. It just doesn't happen, right? It's the same thing in sports, you know. And here's the thing. I'm getting fired up, but I'm passionate about this one thing because I understand it so wholly. You're not alone, right? Everyone is in the same boat, right? You need the tools. You need to feel safe. You need the community. You need to be heard, and you need to understand that we can change this, right? You can't sit there and play the victim, you know? We can guide you in it. We can give you the tools, but at the same time, you have to apply them, right? I just had a conversation around someone with the mentality of just do it. It was someone in the fitness industry I've been talking with, and they're like, well, I just need to do it. And it's like this just do it mentality that the fitness industry has. And they were like, well, I got this, I can do it. And I'm going to fight through this and do it. And I'm like, but you haven't. Right? Like I can't stand that language because I was part of it. Like I'm like, you just need to do it. You just need to get in the gym and work out. You know, when we feel that we're fighting something, our brain mechanisms, you know, they come with us. Like there's this high mentality that we bring with us, you know, and that mentality is we're going into a fight, right? And when you think you're going into a fight, you start thinking, well, what's the possibility I might lose that fight, right? So if I'm fighting myself to go to the gym, I'm fighting myself thinking, well, what if I don't go to the gym? I'm not going to get fit. I'm not going to lose weight. Like you're fighting the energy, right? That's a thought pattern. You know, you're taking energy away from all the good stuff that you can get from it. When you use the words fight, right? We let that energy grow inside us, right? You know, there's a degree to which our mental selves attribute to our physical state, right? And Margaret has done an amazing job of conveying this in her story. Stress, worry, fear, anxiety, misuse of imagination, right? So fear of the future, making shit up, this unbalanced mindset that we have, that we in society that drives us, they not only contribute to disease, they are actually can be causative, if that's the right word, factors in substances, right, Margaret?
I totally agree with that
Oh,
one.
right.
Yeah.
And but here's the thing. So a coach, a parent who has a research mindset and is a mindset person, they'll tell you, well, if you don't fight it, just let it flow. Okay. Now, by the way, Margaret and I've used the word flow, but it's something we've talked about. But in that vein, it's how do you flow, right? I want to flow, but how do you flow, right? Like we say, you can't. We tell you how to flow, but we tell you the actions to do it and not to do, right? So let's think about it. Let go of the negative. Just do it. In my head, I'm like, how? How do I just do it? And that's the point, and that's the exact kind of crucible we're talking about here. There's no fortune cookie banter to just do it or let it go. We have to take this onto a practical level, right? So our brain synapses are living, breathing things, right? We've talked about our narrative in our brain. We have these unconscious stories and these bias stories that are living, breathing concepts in our head that we just can't change with a comment or a meme or a Nick McNugget. We just can't let it go. We can't just decide to forget about it, right? That's another one, forget about it.
Or just in my family, it's just get over it. Just get over it.
Right. We all have our path, right? We have this woven path over years and years and years of influence and experiences, right?
Well, and can I just explain how I've come to see this? And that is the belief system, like you mentioned it, there is emotional energy, there's energy. And I think, Chris, I don't know if you were on this call, but one of our calls, we talked about the elephant and the driver.
Yep.
And, there's this little guy sitting on top of the elephant, and this huge elephant. And at some point, it's, the elephant is that emotional energy that keeps you stuck going in a different direction. So your little brain, your little driver can all day long be trying to move that elephant in one direction. But at the end of the day, the elephant's going to go where the elephant wants to go. Mm-hmm. So the key is, how do you get the elephant to move in the direction that you want? You have to get it to agree with you, or else words like get over it or just do it or whatever, just stop it. It's not going to work.
No, it doesn't.
It's not going to work.
Yes, and here's the other thing. So those people who want to, that say, okay, let's use the elephant as your business, okay? These are my favorite, okay? Manifestors. Just get it. You're out of alignment. Just get into alignment. Yeah. You're out of flow, right? What does that mean? Like, I get it. I get the understanding of it because I understand the back end of it, but you can't just have internal alignment and let it flow and manifest it. Money's just going to show up at your door. If you did, it already would be, because everyone would be doing it. The universe isn't going to gift you this internal alignment just because you say you need it, right? How do you do it? It just always comes back to you. How do you do it? And by the way, I think it's almost dangerous to spew that type of rhetoric, because you're telling people that that's all they need to do, and all they're saying is, well, how come I can't do it? So you start having this guilt and shame placed on us, right? It's all these influences and experiences we have has contributed to those brain synapses, right?
Yeah. I want to use another analogy because I love analogies. Surfing. It's sort of like telling someone, well, just ride the wave. Just ride the wave. There is a wave you can ride, but there's techniques and tools to learn beforehand. And in the beginning, there's a heck of a lot of paddling that you have to do to get to the wave so that you can ride it. But to tell someone, just ride the wave in, isn't actually helpful. You need it. What I've found is, in the beginning, and we've talked about this principle. In the beginning, you need to expend energy. If you're trying, we are back to flow. We've been talking about flow. You want to flow, but sometimes you actually find you need to redirect it. So in the beginning, it takes effort, not effort. Well, it does. It takes attention, intention, and some effort to redirect it so that you can flow again in the direction that you want to. So back to the paddling. In the beginning, there's going to be paddling, especially if there hasn't been self-love or you've never even known that that's possible. It just requires intentionality. Go.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Oh.
No, that was perfect. Because that there is intentionality to it, right? And that's kind of the really important point to share right now, because we're not saying you have to do nothing, because we're not saying that. And I'm not saying that being in alignment is wrong, because it is necessary, because it is. But there's a bigger problem to it. Everyone talks about it and says that, well, I'm in alignment, but there's a big gap between saying you need to be in alignment and I'm in alignment, right? And so the question is, how do we get there, right? How do we achieve, or how do we start the process of self-love? And that's in the very first vehicle to self-love is something we've taught on the very first call, count your wins. But let's explain it a little bit again, okay? Because though we talk about certain concepts ad nauseum, they are everything, right? Because the neurology of our brain is malleable. But unfortunately, the human brain is wired to be negative because of society, right? So just think of, you could be in a great mood and you get one bad email or one bad text or one bad or phone call and you're done for the day, right? So we tend to retain and remember the negativity. We can go through a 24-hour day and not notice any of the good stuff that happened, even in a bad day, right? That we would technically say a bad day. And we could then, in that day, we could say, oh, I just got lucky, right? You can't see it as a win in the day. When anything goes wrong in the day, we remember it like it was this cataclysmic explosion of the day, when it's probably like a minutia of your day. Because counting your wins redefines our perspective of our day. It allows us to see the good more often, right? Our life generally goes on for most people, not specifically those here on this call, but because you're here attuned to yourself. But most people are emotionally tuned out most of the time, which is where most people sit and why they're searching for self-love, why they're searching for self-awareness, and why they think if they have alignment or they've been told to flow, they are in a mindful self-love state, then it just becomes that cliche state, right? But when we start counting the wins of our day, even the smallest thing that goes our way, we count it. Your entire life will start revolving around this and start moving towards this. You'll start to see how your life moves in that direction, because you're starting to change the neurology and the gray matter of your brain. You start finding those little moments in the day that start leading to a constant perspective change, right? Here's the thing, you still have to think about them, right? But because remember, that's conscious competence, that's the third stage of learning. But as we consciously do it more often, when it becomes unconscious, we'll just see it and we're like, wow, what a great thing. What a great thing in the day. And it seems easier to talk about it, but that's where the application comes into doing, right? That's one of the hows. It's like one of the biggest hows. And that kind of moves me to talking about the second thing, to self-love, which was the second thing we taught, because it's so powerful. Because when you count your wins on a regular basis, you not only effectively change the synapses of your brain, you start reconditioning the language and the story of your unconscious, right? Learn your language. And that's where the power is in this. And we constantly talk about learn your language, self-awareness in this narrative, but most people shy away from it because it hurts and they don't enjoy it, right? But if we just stop for for 5 minutes and listen to what we're saying to ourselves, you would start to hear, right? Let me tell you what I used to hear. You're stupid. You're fat. You don't have self-love because you're not worthy of love. You're not lovable. You're a failure. You'll never succeed. I'll never have money. Who would pay me to work because I'm not smart enough? You know, and that hurts. And we've said it. We would never let someone say those things to us because it would crush us if we heard it from someone else. But here, like, if you had to write one thing down today, you cannot out-goal set an unsuccessful mindset. You can't do it. Like, you're hearing us say it ad nauseum, but it's so true. Like, think how many of you have made New Year's resolutions and been unsuccessful, right? Your language gets hostile. You start to belittle yourself. You start to get mean to yourself. You start to get down on yourself, right? You can't out-goal set that unsuccessful mindset, or you just repeat the process. So the narrative drives your physiology, which leads your action response, which gets this feedback loop, and you just keep reprogramming yourself over and over and over again. It's like a cat running around looking at the light on the ground. Whew. Okay, sorry. All right. But here's the thing. It can change, right? We may be more numb than we realize, but counting our wins puts it all back into perspective, right? We start actually being able to believe and see the good in our life, the good that we do in life, how good we are from point B, from where we were in point A 6 months or a year ago. That's what counting wins does. It starts putting it back together for you. It starts reconnecting and changing the neurology of your brain. That's why counting wins and learning your language to self-love is the key. And I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna let Margaret speak a little because I know she has a ton to say on this. But I want you to just think about this, okay? In stage 2 of the learning, we're always in the fog, right? We're unconsciously competent. Like we didn't know what we didn't know. Now we know what we didn't know. But now you know how to do it, but you just don't. You have to keep walking. You have to keep going through the fog. You have to keep walking on through the fire. You have to walk on the coals. You have to keep going. Like if you want to be amazing, it's not going to be easy, right? If you think it's going to be easy, you're not going to be amazing, right? You won't believe you're worth it until you start telling yourself you're worth it. If you want to give up, you have to count your wins, right? Life is going to hurt us at every chance it wants to, and every chance it gets, and you need to work on loving yourself first so that life doesn't become so hurtful. So you can love life for what it is, the imperfect nature of it. And counting your wins and learning your language is the biggest part that we can give you, and we're going to talk it ad nauseum again. So I apologize in advance.
Well, they're just foundational principles or practices to use, and they work regardless of what issue you want to address. But I want to start with how are you defining love in the first place? Like you mentioned goal setting, and you can't out-goal your mindset. So what is the goal? Now we know it's a process. Like you set the goal not to say, it's only going to be okay if I make this goal. You set the goal so that you actually, another analogy, because that's what I like to do. If you want to go across country, awesome. Set your GPS to that destination, but then realize it's about the journey there as much as it is the destination. Like you got to enjoy the ride. So set your destination on self-love, plug those coordinates into your GPS, and then use these tools to help you get to that destination. So the question becomes, well, what is the destination? What does love look like to you? How would you personally define it? Because this is going to tie into, especially tie into learn your language. And first of all, there's no standard definition. You get to do that for yourself. But I'm going to tell you a few of the ones that I personally use. And first of all, love, and this might sound very familiar to some people, but first of all, love is being kind. It's just being nice. I mean, I loved what you said earlier. You wouldn't say some of the things you say to yourself to other people. There's no way. So it's going to be gentle. It's going to be forgiving. And you guys chime in if you think of stuff, because I'm kind of just going off the top of my head right now. It's going to be patient. It's going to be unoffendable. If you love someone, think about someone that you love or something, you know, there's just a lot of, I don't know if this is a cultural word or the word of the community I've been a part of, but there's just grace. Like, it overlooks a lot of flaws. It overlooks, you know, other people's bound nature traits. You know, it has the capacity to do that. Let's see, what else? Did I say compassionate? I said kind, I said compassionate, I said patient. You know, it's going to be hopeful. Love, you're going to expect the best. You're going to expect or anticipate even the best. Assume the best. That's probably a better word. That's the presume the best, presume good intentions. So add to that list. However, if things come to mind, just keep a list. How am I actually defining love? We have one word in the English, well, one word, but a lot of other languages tease it apart. I mean, love can be just a friendship type love, but then you can have passionate love. You can have everything in between. So there's unconditional love, love that puts no conditions on it. So my encouragement to you is to define it as high as you can, so to speak, as unconditionally as you can. But anyway, so start by, what is it? I mean, I didn't say this, Stephen Covey, you know, begin with the end in mind. Where you want to end up? And then start with that. Start by defining actually what love is. So back to count your wins, and then, or back to learn your language. Now you actually have something you can look at. You can say, oh my gosh, this side of the page doesn't match that side of the page. What I'm saying to myself is not how I'm defining love. So what gives? Like, what, you know, it's just another tool for self-awareness. It gives you an opportunity to get out of that stage 1 and into stage 2 and 3, which is the consciously, well, we want you to get it into consciously competent at first. Because back to one of the things Chris said, you know, these people who are saying, find alignment or just project it out into the universe and it'll come back. Here's the deal. If you're at level 4, which is it is in your subconsciousness, you are unconsciously competent. You really are operating in self-love. If you really are, there's some truth to that. You can actually do that. There is a flow that just seems to start to happen. But until then, for someone to tell you to do that, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. You're just dog paddling. You're just paddling. So the way to ride that wave, the way to catch the wave is actually to get this self-love into that unconsciously competent place. You're just doing it. You're just flowing with it. And then, like what Chris said, you find yourself in situations where you can just give. It just starts to come off of you. And you're not even trying. And it's very different than people-pleasing love, because people-pleasing love isn't really love. You really can't love anyone else until you love yourself.
You have expectations.
Right. Because everything we do is actually to be loved. If it's not filled already, if those holes and gaps and stuff in our inner being aren't filled with love, then, and a love that comes from inside, that's what we mean by self-love, is a love that comes from within. And I'm just going to say this because I don't know who's going to be watching this video in the future. You know, some people will say there's a God love that's behind the self-love. I don't really care how you want to define it. The point being, it's a love that's inside. It's a love that you can, a well you can tap into. I keep pointing down, you can't see me, in here. Not a love that comes from the outside in. Not that being loved by someone from the outside in is bad or wrong. It's beautiful, but it's only going to be authentic if there's that self-love first. You won't be giving authentically if you aren't loving yourself, and no one outside of you will be loving you authentically if they don't have it in them. So, you know, it's okay, but it's just, there's always going to be strings attached because it's coming from a bound nature state, because everybody is trying to get to a place where they've tapped into that well of love that's inside of them. So define what you mean by love, go through the pillars, practice the wins. I also, appreciation and gratitude, again, this is for people that may be listening. Appreciation is a part of that piece. Learn to be grateful for things. Learn to appreciate. Push pause in your day. I'll give you an example. This is T. Push pause in your day and just practice things like, wow, I'm really enjoying this. Be in the moment, be present be present in your moments, because you can always find something that you can be grateful for. So practice the gratitude, practice the appreciation, because it works on yourself. Because at some point, love is also appreciating yourself and being grateful for yourself. So if you don't have the capacity or haven't practiced that muscle, so to speak, that if you haven't developed that neural pathway, develop it, because then you can apply it to yourself. I can move on, but Chris, I'm going to stop in case there's something you wanted to add.
Great.
What?
Don't stop. I love
Don't
this.
stop. Okay, I'll keep going. Another place, so gratitude and appreciation. I'm going to give you some of the tools that I've used to cultivate this in my life. And by the way, we're all a work in progress, right? You have no idea. Where I am today is not where I was a year ago. What?
I was a mess 4 years ago, so we're a work in progress.
Yeah, we're all a work in progress. So anyway, so another place that I realized these two things weren't lining up. And this one may be people may not like me so much after I say this, but it's an important piece of the puzzle. Okay, here I go. Your parents and your family. What are your thoughts and emotions surrounding them? Because here's the deal. I am 50% of my mom and 50% of my dad. If I am harboring resentment or bitterness or anger or unforgiveness or whatever towards them, it's actually coming right back at me. So pay attention to those relationships. What are they like? Even your children, you know, I find it's a little more powerful when you look backwards than it is down, but because it's kind of easy to love your kids. It's a little bit harder to love your parents. Just saying, sometimes to love your parents. How about your grandparents or your great-grandparents? So look backwards in your generational line and find out, is there someone in that you're in a direct line with that you maybe don't have the best relationship with? That might be an area to pursue. And I'm going to go back to these 4 stages of learning. Don't beat yourself up if you're not in that 4th stage right out the gate. That would be crazy to think you ever would be. You're not going to be unconsciously competent. It would be silly for me to say, let's say you've had a really difficult relationship with a parent. I'm not here to say, oh, well, just love them. Just love them. Because that's back to the just do it. That's back to the just whatever. Just that's silly. That's someone telling you to start with stage 4. And you can't start with stage 4. Start with stage 1. Okay, you're now competently, I'm helping you to become consciously incompetent by paying attention to your family dynamic. You're now aware. Okay, fine. Do things consciously as an act of your will to start getting that ball rolling. Like you can just say, listen, I don't know. I don't want to get into too many details, but you can do things to without feeling the warm fuzzies, you can do things that can move you towards a better relationship with those people in your life. So do those things consciously. And if you do them more often, it will start to the flow. It's like you're priming the pump. You know, in the beginning, a lot of crappy water is going to start coming out of that pump, but eventually it'll start to heal and start to come out as clear water. So, so family is another one. Okay. I believe, and maybe we're more than this, but at a minimum, we're body, soul, spirit beings. We have a body, but we know we have a mind, right? That is somehow, I don't really know how, distinct from our body. We have emotions. We have an emotional part of us. We have a mental part of us. We have a physical part of us. However you want to view all these things, maybe spiritual part of us. How are they in relationship with each other? I know for me, with my body especially, and Chris, I know in your business, people, you bump up against this all the time. What are you telling your body? What is your mind? What is your heart telling your physical body? Are you being kind to your body? I'll just share one story and then I'll push pause on my little part and let Chris jump in. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I couldn't sleep at night for whatever reason. And so I just sat there and I realized, oh my gosh, I really haven't been very kind over the years to my physical body. So, so I just literally spent about 3 hours, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any of this language to know what to call it, but I spent about 3 hours literally just, I don't know if I started at my head or my toe or wherever, but I just went up my body through every part of my body and just thought about all the things, all the judgments, all the condemnation, all the critical thinking that I had had over the years about those parts, and literally just apologized. I know that sounds weird that I'm apologizing to a part of me, but hey, you know what? I recommend it. It worked, because after 3 hours, I went through my toes. I didn't like my feet growing up. I didn't, whatever. You just think, oh, her feet are prettier than mine, or mine are too big or too small or whatever. Oh, I actually have curly hair. I fought my curly hair forever. Pick that part of you that you have wanted to change or haven't liked. I drank a lot growing up, so I apologized to my liver. I had bulimia. I apologized to my stomach. I apologized to just anything that came to mind. I spent 3 hours doing this. Now, here's the crazy thing. Okay, now this is another one of those, Chris, don't flush me off the call moments. But I'm going to actually start sharing these things that they're weird, but it's okay. I'm telling you this to show that there was physical confirmation that what I did was significant. Okay. It's a little strange, but I do strange well. Okay. So 3 hours in the middle of the night going through all this. First thing I noticed when I woke up the next morning, I did eventually fall asleep. I felt fantastic. I just felt energized. I felt buzzy. I felt awake. I felt alert. I felt great. I stood up. I got out of bed. I don't even know if I owned a scale at that point in time. I don't really weigh myself very often, but I really felt like I would have been half floating. Like I probably would have lost half my body weight because I felt so light and floaty. Then I noticed, oh my gosh, I shocked myself. I touched something and it zapped me. And I said, what was that? That was weird. Then I took a shower and I got dressed and I looked in the mirror and I looked not like what I was expecting and not like what I normally look like. I looked ashen gray, kind of bluey ashen gray everywhere, like my face, my body, my arms, everything. And I was like, what in the world is that? And I literally did this on my arm to try to see what it was. Like, was it something on me? And as I did it, I ended up with little pills of fibers on my arm. And I realized I'm touching, like everywhere I touched, I had these little pills of fiber all over my body. I actually had to take another shower to get it all off. What I realized is I have a microfiber sweater that I love, and it was the exact same color as that microfiber sweater. I also have an electrostatic air filter. And what I realized is that my body was actually functioning as an electrostatic air filter. I was drawing things to myself. So me using nothing but my mind, imagining love and compassion and forgiveness flowing through my body, literally it changed the energetic makeup for that moment of my body. And that lasted for about 3 or 4 days. So it was just physical confirmation that what I was doing mentally and just through my imagination was having real physical impact. The other thing too is I was really sick. I was still in the middle of illness at that point in time. And I've had moments where I can tell my immune system has kicked back in. After that experience, some of the symptoms that I used to have went away. So there's some there to this loving yourself. So that's just a practical, I know it was a long example, but that's a practical way, like love your body, go through, like, how would you want to reconcile a relationship with someone so that it can be restored? And I needed to reconcile my relationship with my body because I had not been kind to it growing up. I'd not loved it growing up. I'd rejected parts of it. So I'm going to stop at that point and let Chris jump in.
No, I think what everyone who's watching this should take from this and from what we talk about is that the mindset 101 from this, what everyone should know is that, we don't just teach it, we apply it every day. So when Margaret said she sat down for a while and listened and checked in with her body and listened to her thoughts and her physical reactions and stuff like that, you need to do that. Like a lot of these topics this week came because I sat with myself over the weekend and had to work through what I was going through in my head. I had to understand why. I had to understand why didn't I catch it earlier? And you know what? And so I didn't beat myself up that I didn't, because even the beauty of it is that I could educate myself and work through it and then teach it and then apply it so it's in. And I'm better the next time. And because what I've gotten over is that I am not perfect, and my moments of being less than are not less than, they're just a teaching. I'm just being better. And I can admit that, but you have to do it. You can listen to it as much as you want. And it's helpful, don't get me wrong. And you don't need professional help or accountability, but you need to do it. And the do it is not the just do it we talk about. We are giving you the just do it of the how. And that is this is why what we do changes everyone's life, because we give you the how, and more importantly, we give you the how to break up with us. Like, I don't want you being coached for a year. Some people need a year, some people need 2 because they need more. But the idea is what we're giving you, these 4 pillars, as simple as they sound, that's what you need, because it brings more self-awareness. It brings different language. It recreates the synapses in your brain. Like, there is science to it, but the simplicity of it is the action of doing it. And it doesn't take long. Sometimes you may want to spend longer in it. But you have to, more than just hear it, you need to write it, understand it, and understand yourself. And take that as more than anything. Because we've been doing this for a while. And what I teach you today, I couldn't have articulated as well 6 months from now, or even a month from yesterday, only because I'm constantly evolving. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly going back and relearning and refining what I already thought I knew, and I'm refining it to being even better. And the better you get at it, the more you get into that 4th stage of learning. And by the way, the 4th stage, once you're in it, you're in it. But let me tell you, if you don't continue to do the work, you're gonna get out of it. you know? So you have to continue to do the work, because things are going to come at you in life if you're not doing the work, and you will forget. Your unconscious memory will start to revert back to its strengths from years of influence and experience. And you'll have to just do the work a little bit again to refine. So when people come back to me and they say, "Oh, Chris, I'm a mess. I don't know. The first word out of my first words out of my mouth are you doing your 4 pillars?" And because I know what the answer is. They're not. By the way, when I'm falling off, what's my first question? Got to get back to my 4 pillars. Every time. Every time. It is the bread and butter. Any questions?
I just want to add that it gets back to something we said at the beginning of the call. This is not easy in the beginning. That's okay. It gets easier. And I want to just encourage people, though, it's sort of like I see it as two, like there's just these opposing forces. In the beginning, you're trying to like swim upstream. But once you get there, there can be, it's back to riding the wave. There is a wave you can ride. Like it's not going to be a struggle forever and ever and ever. And I think what Chris is trying to say is you're just going to do you're going to be doing them without even realizing you're doing them eventually, but not in the beginning. And what that looks like for some people, it might take people 6 months before it just becomes a lifestyle. It may take them 6 years. It may take them 20 years. You know, everyone's going to have a different timeline, but eventually it'll get to the point where it just becomes a part of who you are. But anyway, I think what I like about this particular topic is that some people will come to you and they'll say, okay, my goal is we keep using lose weight, but that's an easy one. It's just what people, it's one that a lot of us can relate to. Or maybe it's a financial goal, or maybe it's getting a project finished. Those are awesome goals. There's nothing wrong with those goals. But this goal, and I'm actually going to put it as a goal, it's always on the table. It's always on the table. It's never a goal that will come and go. It's never a goal that will, oh, it's for a season, or because like Mary, I know you're looking to write a book. That might be for a season and then it's done. Or lose weight, you've done it. It's a season and you've done it. This one, if it's not there all the time, put it there. I'm telling you to put it there and keep it there. Because what will happen is what Chris and I both know, and you guys probably do too, is you put self-love as your goal and you work towards that. My guess, you will probably start to lose weight without even realizing it. Mm-hmm. Like it's sort of like the umbrella that covers every other goal you have needs to hang on to under this one, because it's that important. And really, in a weird sort of way, it's actually not the finish line. It's the starting line. It's the beginning point for the rest of your life. So, and it's just tragic, honestly, that most people never figure that out. Or some of us are figuring this out, a lot later than we should. Ideally, we would know it right from the get-go, because it really is. It's both the destination and the starting line. So keep it. Just be intentional about it. Be intentional about it. So with all the other goals you're working on, not to add another one, but honestly, take something else off if you can't put this one on, if there's no room in your life for it, because it's that important.
Words of wisdom from the master.
So anything else? We've been yammering.
Woo!
It's good stuff. This is the stuff I love because it's fun, it's contagious, and it honestly, it feels good. Mm-hmm. It feels good when you're in that flow. It's heaven on earth. It's mm-hmm. good.
And the beauty, when you don't feel good and you work your way through it, you get better faster, feeling better faster. And that's what one reason why I love it so much, because you can work yourself out of where you are faster.
Exactly.
Mary,
May I jump?
Yeah, go ahead, Ida.
So actually, thanks for this conversation. It seems like it's a conversation continuation of a meeting that I had last night. And it's basically, last night we were talking about how thoughts, feelings, actions kind of control the results.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you feel something, you think something, you feel something, you act on it, and then you have the result. And what they said was the results never lie. And it's just like it's similar to what we're talking about, you know, self-love. You know, if you're acting towards it and if you're feeling it and you want to do something to it, like the end result would show whether you're talking to a significant other, whether it's at work, whether your children. I feel like that's kind of the end, you know.
Absolutely. Well, for me, I mean, I had an autoimmune condition. What the heck is that? You're attacking yourself physically? Like that, I had to pull back on that string and realize, oh my gosh, this is a form of self-hatred, self-abuse. And so part of how I got over that was actually doing this, learning to love myself. Because at some point there's a subconscious narrative I know that's going to offend people. I'm so sorry. I'll speak for myself, but at some point there is a narrative buried down in there, and it may have been inherited. It may have, you know, it could be a narrative that's in your family line that you just ended up with. But in fact, often that is what it is. But uncover it, because the evidence, you're right, that your physical, there will be evidence of it somewhere. And that's what came to mind when you said that.
Great stuff, Ida.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, listen, I got to jump off because I got a call coming in.
Yes, you do.
All right, so we'll see everyone Thursday night.
Thank
Bye,
you.
I'll
Thank
send out a
you.
reminder.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.